My greatest life work will be my family, the family that I raise, the family that I don't have yet. That's going to be my greatest life work. Yeah. People will remember the book. They're going to remember the scholarship. They may remember the Pose experience. They'll remember the work I've done with helping people create passive income and create money outside of their corporate salaries from a side hustle and helping them to become entrepreneurs. People will remember that. But my greatest life's work will be in my family. And that's what I want to focus on.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
It's that important to you.
It's very important.
Where did you learn that? Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here with Miss Forbes 30 Under 30, Danielle Hughes. How are you today?
Kyle King, it is a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm
lovely,
good.
lovely.
Good.
How was your week?
My week was amazing.
I have so many questions, so we're just going to start with an easy question.
Okay, my week was amazing.
Okay.
I got a chance to rest. I got a chance to visit Charlotte.
Okay.
I'm loving Charlotte so far. This is my first time here.
Okay.
So I'm excited. It's been a really good week.
What does a week usually consist of for you?
Whew, oh my goodness. I'm responsible for so much. So not only I'm an author, always make your bed, 7 principles to dream it, do it, get what you want out of life. I have a small business consulting company. It's called Elite Global Vending, where I help people create passive income quickly in the vending machine space. And I also own a selfie museum. It's called the Pose Experience. So I have employees. I am in meetings half of the time, all of the day. There's always someone who needs something. I tell everyone I'm a professional problem solver. So I pretty much solve problems all day.
I like it.
And I'm, responsible for my family.
I think a lot of people that own businesses don't recognize or really take time to self-reflect on what their business is with the world. Mm-hmm. What is your business with the world?
My business with the world. That's a really good question.
We're going to start strong.
My business with the world. Can you give me a little more context?
No, for sure. As people, we're much more than our brand. We're much more than our business.
For sure.
And even in our conversation earlier, sometimes we build great business models, but that's not our business that we're trying to accomplish within the world and within our lives, within our legacies. So what is your business?
I love that. Okay, I got it. Yeah. So I feel like my business is letting people know that their potential is limitless. And I'm going to tell you this. Growing up, they tell you do one thing, get really good at one thing, and that's it. People have always told me that. So boom, I'm great at a lot of things. I just am. It's just one thing that I'm going to own. So letting people know you can be good at this. Don't let anyone put you into a box. Okay. So I live my life in a way that I hope that it translates to others, that they can do whatever they put their mind to and that their potential is literally limitless.
Do you really believe that you can be great in a lot of things?
So I think that you should master things first, because then you become a jack of all trades. You're a master of none. But I do think that you can be great in several different things.
Do you believe that you can be a master in multiple things?
I do believe that you can be a master in multiple
Give me an
things.
example.
So I believe that I've mastered all of my business models. So being the CEO in the Pose Experience, in my self museum, being the CEO in Elite Global Vending, being the CEO of my personal life. I feel like I've mastered those things.
What does mastery look like for you?
10,000 hours of work.
Okay.
Of doing one thing.
I think there's people that have put in 10,000 hours, but still aren't masters because I believe that activity doesn't equal achievement.
Okay.
Right? I feel like if I asked you to come across this table and get something out of my hand, I think it's easy in our minds to just reach across the table and grab it. But there's another way that you could do it. You can go outside, you can go downstairs, then you can come up the stairs, and then you can come back in here. You can run around this table 25 times and then still grab it out of my hand.
Right.
Activity doesn't equal achievement. And I think a lot of people are acting, but they're not achieving anything. They're putting in hours, they're putting in time, but they're moving in the wrong direction.
Right.
So I guess the question of mastery or greatness, is it really a thing? There's a lot of athletes that have been playing their whole lives but can never accomplish what Michael Jordan, LeBron James, or these people have accomplished. So what is mastery? Is it really about the hours?
That is a great question, Kyle. And you told me you were going to give me great questions.
There it is.
And here we go. I'm never speechless. I always have something to say. So I would say for me, how I measure mastery, because I think everyone, and that's what makes us great, is everyone has a different opinion. We all have a different outlook on life. If we all saw things the exact same way, what would be interesting about getting to know each other, right? So how I measure mastery is by the time I've put in to learn something. to get great at something. That is how I measure it.
Good.
So how long have I studied this, whatever industry I'm looking to enter? How long have I studied this? Am I battle tested? Have I actually been through some things? Can I share this and it's not just fluff? That is how I define mastery.
I like what you just said there. I'm able to share things and it's not just fluff. I think on the internet, there's a lot of gurus that don't have the actual experience to back it up. And they're saying they're great in something and that they can be able to teach people in doing something. But you don't have the examples. You don't have the experience. You don't have the battle wounds.
For sure.
But with those battle wounds, they teach us amazing things. What is a battle wound that you have that you still are recovering from, but it taught you an amazing lesson?
Okay, I have a great one. So I have been fired from just about every job I've had, with the exception of one.
Yikes.
I was meant to be an entrepreneur. So when I see these posts like entrepreneurs are great employees, I'm an amazing entrepreneur. I am extremely consistent. I am dedicated. I'm loyal to my work. I'm loyal to my team. I'm a terrible, horrible, not good, very bad employee.
Why? What was it? What were the activities or the habits that you created?
Well, I wasn't passionate about anything that I was doing.
Okay.
Not at all. I was not passionate about anything. Now, do I wake up every single morning and am I passionate about what I'm doing now? Not every morning. Not every morning. But I'm committed to my why. And my why is breaking generational curses within my family. I didn't have a why when I was in corporate. I didn't have a why. I was just trying to make a paycheck because I needed to pay bills.
Do you believe if you worked with a company or within a corporation that developed, nurtured your why and supported your why, do you believe that you would be a better employee?
Absolutely. The one job that I was telling you that I never got fired from
was that one.
They created that culture.
Talk to me about it.
So it was called the Future Project. And I had a contract with Detroit Public Schools to do my programming. I made the Forbes list for a nonprofit that I will not name on this podcast, but if you Google my name, it'll come up.
For sure.
But I made the Forbes list for that. They saw me from there. They kind of got in touch like, hey, we would love to have you and your programming in Detroit Public Schools. So I was there and my title was a dream director. So I was a life coach for the high school students there.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I really admire about you, listening to podcasts, reading your book, doing all of these different things together as well, is that a lot of people see Forbes. A lot of people see that nonprofit. A lot of people see what you've accomplished. But I love that you take time to really see who you are and who you're trying to become as well. And I think that's important for anybody listening. But what's one thing that you wish you could share more of about yourself that people don't take the time to see?
Okay, so one thing that I love about myself is I'm really funny. I'm really funny, but people don't follow me for that. They follow me for business advice. They want to know, like, look, I read Always Make Your Bed. I'm trying to make the Forbes list. What tips can you give me? This is where I'm trying to go. But no one asks me, like, I'm really funny, y'all. Like, I could probably do stand up. But no one ever takes the time to get to know me.
Can I get a joke?
No.
If you could do stand up, I feel like.
But people rehearse stand up. They just don't get up there and just.
All right, what's something
like, okay.
that's like really funny to you?
Something that is really funny. Okay, so my favorite TV show is Martin. I think Martin Lawrence is hilarious.
Nah, he is hilarious.
I think he is so funny. He's one of my favorite comedians. So his entire show, like, it's genius to me. I've seen every episode 4 times.
Genius. Describe it.
Genius. Kyle, you coming with the questions. Yes. Genius. How do I describe genius? So I think that every single person is a genius. Every single person on this earth has genius level talent.
You think so?
Yep, absolutely.
If I told you I don't think so, how would you feel?
It's your opinion.
Okay.
That's your opinion. So mine is that every single person has genius level talent. It's just all about how you tap into it. What are you a genius in? Everyone is a genius in something.
Maybe this is just my perspective.
Okay.
I think that the world was built. How do I want to say this without the comment section going crazy? Just being, and I'm gonna just say it how I feel it. I feel like everybody can't be a CEO. Everybody can't invent something. There were certain people that were meant to clean tables. Because if everybody, and that's the problem that I think I have with now, everything, entrepreneurship as a whole is saturated. Everybody's a coach. So the real coaches are losing business to other coaches that aren't getting results. So now the people that said they were coaches that can't transform people are working with people that invested in themselves for the first time, didn't get a result, and won't invest again with an actual coach,
For sure.
with an actual transformation expert. I believe that everybody was not meant to be a genius, or everybody doesn't have a form of genius. I believe if everybody played in their lane, they would have an opportunity to be successful in what their calling is. You may have been called to clean buildings the rest of your life, but you cleaning buildings provided something for someone else. And I think if people tapped in again with what they were put on this earth to essentially do, without expectation, of course, or without being boxed in, of course, I feel like the world would be a better place. Imagine if you were riding on the highway and you looked to your right and you saw a 6-year-old driving on the highway at 75 miles per hour. That feeling, right? You would
Yes.
probably fear your life,
For sure.
the child's life, and the lives around them. And then imagine if that child has their blinker on and they're trying to come into your lane.
Right.
An accident is going to continue to happen. And that's what happens a lot in life as well. There's people that are unprepared, that are unequipped to drive the car, that don't have a license to be able to be in that lane, to be in that seat. And they're causing accidents in industries that are hurting people. What's an accident that you caused in your industry, but it ended up disrupting you to be successful?
Oof. Literally and figuratively. Okay, so let's take it back. This is 2015. My background is in news. Since the age of 16, I wanted to be a news anchor. So I became a news anchor at the age of 23. So boom, I moved to Dothan, Alabama. I was working for a news station out there, the ABC affiliate.
You were
out
in
there.
Dothan?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't get a license until I was 23, until I moved to Alabama. Yeah.
Wow.
One of my friends not from college, from church that I grew up with died in a car accident when she was 16. And I said, I'm just never going to learn how to drive. Anything could have happened to me. Driving down the street, riding down the street, walking down the street, being a passenger in someone's vehicle. But I said, I will not get behind the wheel of a car if I can help it. But of course, I wanted to chase these dreams. There's no public transportation in Alabama, so I had to learn how to drive.
Exactly.
So I didn't learn how to drive until I got that job and had to move 16 hours away from home. Boom. I moved there January 2015. June 2015, I'm in the station car. Now, y'all, you can throw up gang signs. You can listen to all the trap music, whatever that you want to when you are in your personal vehicle, an unmarked vehicle. You cannot do that. You cannot do anything without being under surveillance in a marked station vehicle. Okay. So boom, I'm driving, multitasking. I'm sure I was texting, trying to do a bunch of different things. I was a multimedia journalist. So that means that I shot my stories. I found my stories. I edited my stories. I recorded my stories. I was the cameraman. I was the reporter. I did everything.
Officially the jack of all trades.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm in the car probably doing too many things at once.
Exactly.
Boom, I smacked the car in front of me. It was a really light tap. Like, they didn't have any damage to their car. I had slight damage to the station car. The woman hops out. She's like, hey, my boyfriend was driving my vehicle. I do not have any car insurance. He doesn't have a license. Let's forget about this. I've never been in an accident. I don't know what protocol is. I'm like, bet. Let's just act like this didn't happen.
In the station car?
In the station car.
Oh, man.
I'm like, I looked at her car. I was like, I don't see any damage. There's slight damage to the car. If I didn't tell you it was there, you wouldn't be able to notice it. Let's go on about our day. So I get back to my station later on that day, and my boss pulls me to the side, like, so how was your day? And I'm like, it was great. Why are you asking? It was fantastic. He said, are you sure about that? I said, I'm sure. I'm positive. He pulls up a photo that a viewer emailed the station of me on the side of the road, exchanging information with the woman. And he was like, so did you get into an accident today? Because we got an email saying that you did. I was like, I did. He said, okay, I'm going to do everything in my power to try to keep you. But I'm telling you, the higher power in this company is going to say you are too much of a liability. But I'm going to do whatever I can to keep you.
Now, was this your first incident?
Yep. This was my first incident.
Wow.
Yep. And something that is mind-blowing, I was making $22,000 a year. In Dothan, Alabama, in 2015. Yeah.
So talk to me about Dothan, Alabama. You went to school at Georgia State.
Yep, I went to Georgia State.
So when did you graduate Georgia State?
2014.
2014. So that was your first job, essentially. Dothan, Alabama. So you graduated college to take a $22,000 job in Alabama.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was paying rent. My rent was $450. I was paying a car note. The cell phone bill.
That's crazy. Yeah. So 2015 happens. We're now in 2021.
Yep.
What is one sentence to describe the 6-year transformation that you went through?
Okay, so I want to backtrack really quickly because I didn't finish that story. So I got fired from that job. They called me in the next Friday and they were just like, yeah, you got to go. So then, and this is why mentors are so important. I know I'm going to get back to your question. Yeah. So my mentor, she works now for NBC nationwide now. She was at the NBC affiliate in Atlanta. So I call her and I'm like, this is what happened. She's like, bet you'll have an interview next week. I'm going to call around to some people. So she calls her old news director. The woman calls me and she's like, I trust your mentor so much. I'm not even going to interview you. And I want to offer you $15,000 more than what you were making.
Wow.
This woman never interviews me. So a year goes on. A couple of other things, took place. But my co-anchor was 16 years my senior. And people were complaining. They were complaining like, this girl looks so young. I had braces at the time. I've had braces 3 different times. So there's that. But I had braces, so I looked a lot younger than she did. People were complaining. They're like, this just is not a good matchup. She brought me in her office. Like, we are going in a different direction with the show. I was on the morning show. That is you got to know your demographics, okay? So that is a much older demographic.
Of course.
You don't have high schoolers up at 4:30 in the morning catching the news. Like,
exactly.
Let me see what's going on for the day. That's a much older demographic. They wanted to see older people. So they were placing me with a woman who was about 15 years my senior, a black woman.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was the end of my news career.
Wow.
So with that, I had to move back home to Detroit. And I told my mom, I said, I'm never coming back to Detroit. Like, over my dead body, I will need to be dragged there. I'm never coming back. I would feel like a failure. Even though I was making $22,000 a year in the middle of nowhere at Dothan, Alabama, my family thought that I was on CNN. The way that they bragged on me, they talked about me. When I came home, I literally felt like Michelle Obama. Like, that's literally how they viewed me.
You know what's interesting? And just to pause really quickly, that people that lack exposure to real success, to real influence, to real impact, $22,000 looks like $200,000. And even with your story, like you started off, Forbes 30 under 30, you've accomplished all of these amazing things. And oftentimes people, like we were talking earlier, and I asked you if there's one thing that you could whisper to a baby, what would that be? Right? And they would have to keep with it. And whatever, my thing was it was essentially, what was it?
Well, the first thing you said was get this money.
Yeah, definitely get this money. And I think the second thing was whatever people are going to think of you.
Yes. What does God think of you?
What does God think of you?
Yeah.
Right? So $22,000 was amazing for them, but then God had different plans for you.
For sure.
What was one of the plans that you wanted to do, but God had a different plan?
Be a news anchor. Oh my gosh. I was supposed to be the next Barbara Walters. Not even Oprah, because I didn't want a talk show. I wanted to do like investigative reporting.
Yeah.
I wanted to do strictly hard news.
So how would you describe that one sentence transformation?
Oh my goodness. One sentence transformation. There are so many different words that I can use to describe it. But what I can absolutely say is everything has been God-led. And I'll say that. I have been in some rooms that have blown my mind. When I was in that 1-bedroom apartment in Dothan in 2015, making $22,000 a year, I never thought that I would be here. I knew if I stayed consistent long enough and I kept working at one thing, which was my personal development, I would get somewhere. Did not know it would be here or this quickly.
So you really tapped into your personal development after that time?
Yep, absolutely.
How? What were the steps that you took?
Okay, so I love talking about this. It's going to sound a little cliche, but I make my bed every morning. And let me tell you how I got to that point. Growing up, I had no structure. I could come and go as I pleased. I never had to do chores. I never had a curfew. I never had a bedtime. I could stay up and watch, like I shared with you earlier, BET Uncut until 3 o'clock in the morning. If you have never seen BET Uncut, please YouTube
don't.
it. It's interesting. But yeah, so I didn't have any structure. So I graduated from high school with a 1.9 GPA. I'm a brilliant kid.
When you said that earlier, I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
Keep going, though.
By not applying yourself,
like
anything is possible.
It's crazy. Like 1.9 graduating, though.
Yeah.
Like you could graduate with a 1.9, but not to derail you. Keep going.
Yep. So always been brilliant. I've always picked up on things very quickly. I got to high school and I became really popular. And y'all, I don't know when this happened because when I got there as a freshman, I'm an introvert. I'm extremely quiet. Something happened from the summer between 9th grade and 10th grade. I got my eyebrows arched, and I remember that, and it made my face look different. And like I started wearing my hair down, and I don't know what happened, and I just became very popular at school. So you're getting all this attention from boys, you're getting all this attention from friends. Teachers loved me. I was like a teacher's pet. Everyone loved my personality, so I could get away with anything. I was never held accountable for anything. I was the president I created clubs. Like there's the student perspective committee at my old high school that's still there
perspective committee.
Because I had so many issues with everything at the school, and the principal was just tired of me being in her office every day complaining. She was like, you do something about this. I'm like, bet. And it's still up and running. I graduated high school in 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes I go back like, y'all know I created this.
When you think of everything that you've created, which thing are you most proud of?
So I have a scholarship in memory of my grandfather. He passed away in 2010. And it is called the David Jackson Scholarship for Emerging Leaders. And proceeds from sales of Always Make Your Bed go to that scholarship. To date, we've given away $5,000 in scholarships to Detroit Public School students.
Powerful.
And that is probably what I am most proud of. I'm proud of a lot.
How can students get access to that program?
Yes, so they have to be Detroit Public School students, first of all. And then I reach out to the schools and I ask them to just disperse it, send out an email blast, make sure that the students get it and that they know of this opportunity so they can get some money towards, and because I graduated with a 1.9 GPA, there is no GPA requirement.
Wow.
Literally, you just have to show me that you want to do something after high school, that you have a plan. You don't need to be going to college. There's no GPA requirement. As long as you are graduating and you have a plan. I didn't qualify for any scholarships. If it was not for my 11th grade English teacher, I would not have walked across the stage.
I love that you're doing that because I think that a lot of times, especially in Black communities, we don't understand the difference between access to funds and deployment of funds.
For sure.
And what I mean by that, anybody listening, everybody knows where a bank is. But if you were to walk into a bank and you ask for a $350,000 loan, you're not going to be able to get that. There are certain criteria and policies and procedures that won't allow those funds to be deployed. Even in governments and cities, businesses don't get the funds and they have access to all of this different information and funding. Why is it important for you, somebody that has access to relationships, that has access to resources, that has access to all of these different things, to still deploy knowledge, to still deploy funds, to still deploy these resources into your community?
So I feel like we all have a responsibility once we get to a certain level that we have to pull back as we climb. So I have to reach, that's my responsibility. That is how I pay my rent for being on this earth, is I have to pull back and climb. I can't even get it out. As I'm climbing, it is my responsibility to pull others up as I climb. So I feel like that's how I pay my rent on this earth. That's how I give back.
I think that when people like us are very ambitious, we have such big goals, big visions, we're either running towards something or running from something. What would you say that you're doing most of?
Ooh, I'm running towards something. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I've been she's a runner, she's a track star. That's me. That's me. Formerly me.
Okay.
Why? So the moment I've only learned fight or flight, right? And I always chose flight. Because I didn't grow up in a household where you sat down and discussed what was wrong with you. If I was crying and stopped crying, you're going to get a whooping. There's nothing wrong with you. Get up. You're good. So growing up, I saw that like, okay. So if you piss me off, I don't have to talk this out with you. I don't need to communicate my feelings, my needs. I'm just going to ghost you. I'm done.
Wow. When did that change for you?
Ooh. So I've been in therapy on and off since I was in the 3rd grade. My cousin committed suicide when I was in 3rd grade, and that was my first time being introduced to what trauma was.
Wow.
So I started seeing the school therapist there. I went to therapy for a breakup. That was like about 5 years ago. Then I went to therapy because I went to Kenya in 2018, the group that I was with, everyone was robbed at gunpoint except for me, because I left the area that we were at, because my cousin was calling me from Detroit. So I'm like, if she was calling me on WhatsApp, and I'm like, well, if she's calling me, she called me like 3 times in a row, something must be wrong. There's an emergency. She wanted to call and tell me that one of like our childhood friends was DJing at a party she was at. But she saved me from that.
Wow.
She saved me from that. So I left like 15 minutes earlier than everyone else to call my cousin back. She didn't answer. I'm like, I'm gonna just stay here, shower, and go to bed. And literally 30 minutes later, like the police are knocking at my door, like, you have to come on. So I went to therapy for that. That was extremely traumatizing, even though it did not happen to me. Hearing everyone's stories, seeing the space that I was just in, they knocked all the chandeliers out. Everything was topsy-turvy. Just seeing the look of fear on my colleagues' faces, that was extremely traumatizing. So I was in therapy for that. And then my dad passed April of 2020 from COVID, complications due to COVID. And I was in grief counseling for 6 months. So for that grief counseling, I'm thinking I'm just going to deal with my dad's death. That's it. So many other things came up. I'm like, oh, so I'm not a good communicator. I am not a good communicator. Once someone says something that doesn't agree with me, I'm out. Life doesn't work that way. How do you expect to have any fruitful relationships when you're doing that all the time? So historically, I've been someone to run from my problems. Like, if I don't acknowledge this, it's going to go away. Now I face everything head on. So what I'm running towards is healing, number one, because it's been a long time coming. I was in therapy for 6 months when I was 28, about to turn 29. Yeah. So there's a lot of unlearning that I'm doing at the same time.
If you could unlearn one thing in this season that you're currently in, what would the one thing be?
That I have to be on all the time.
What does off look like for you?
Just being Danny. People see Danielle D. Hughes all the time, and they've made me into this public figure, and I'm like, what? That's not me. I'm just so normal. I'm like everyone else. But they've made me into this public figure. So when I meet people, or when I'm in different circles, or I've been out at the mall and people have noticed me, they always want me to be on. Sometimes I'm off. And I don't want to talk about business. And what are you passionate about? Tell me that. What was the highlight of your day? Being off just is me being in my element. I love music. I shared that with you a little bit. Yeah. If I was not doing any of this, I would be a DJ. So that is me in my element. That's me being off.
Yeah. What was the highlight of your week?
Probably.
Or of your day?
Sharing my playlist with you last night. Because that is a passion project for me. My businesses were passion projects in the beginning, but then they became businesses. So now it's about growing. It's about scaling. It's about finding a team. It's about delegation. Then the passion slowly gets taken out of it. So I have to keep passion projects, things that I'm actually passionate about, close.
Talk to us a little bit more about when you are growing an empire, the importance of not forgetting about your passion.
It's so important. So I feel like your passion and your why go hand in hand, right? So every day is not a great day in business. Every morning I do not wake up fired up like, oh, I'm going to change the world today with these businesses. No, it doesn't happen like that. So my why keeps me going, and my passion for them, knowing that I am slowly changing the trajectory of the life of my family, of my unborn kids, of my husband that I have not met yet, that I am slowly changing their lives by working on myself and working in my passion every single day.
What does family mean to you?
Everything. Oh my goodness, I'm nothing without my family. I'm very, very, very close to my family. Very close. I shared this with you yesterday, but I slept in the bed with my mom until I was in the 7th grade.
I wasn't going to ask.
Till I was in the 7th grade, and one day I just woke up, and sometimes I still do. I'll be 30 in a couple of months, and I'll just be like, Mom, I just want to get in the bed with you, and I'll just stay in the bed with her. I'm very, very close. Like, I was texting her today, like, I miss you. What are you doing? Very, very close. Family is everything. Family is my safe space. That's when I can be myself and I don't have to perform.
Why is it important in people's lives to create and continue to put themselves in safe spaces?
So when you continuously take yourself out of let me not say that, because I think taking yourself out of your comfort zone is amazing. I think that's needed for growth. I would not be who I am today had I not put myself in uncomfortable situations, right? But now I'm to the point where I don't like being uncomfortable. Different things, Different things. Now, it can be a business venture. It can be a meeting that I didn't feel prepared for. That may make me uncomfortable. Something that makes me uncomfortable is someone prying into my personal life. I don't like that. I don't like being in uncomfortable situations. I'm very, very private. And, when with social media, people look at these influencers like they're so transparent. They're sharing their entire life. And I'm very, very private.
Exactly.
So that is something that I'm working on. But your safe space is so important because I feel like that's when you get to be the real you. You never want to get too far from you.
What does that mean? Never get too far from you.
Okay. So, for example, I'm Danny. That's who I am, like on an everyday basis. Yeah. When I'm doing speaking engagements, when I'm coaching, when I'm in meetings with my employees, when I'm coaching my employees, when I'm in big meetings trying to secure these deals, I am Danielle.
Okay.
Right? There's no way I can be Danielle all the time. I would drive myself crazy. So Danny is my safe space. That's when I can be myself. That's when I can just be in my solitude. I don't have to perform for anyone. And that's why it's so important to stay close to that. Mm. You never want to lose sense of yourself.
What would be your advice, though, for somebody who hasn't really taken time to understand themselves? Mm-hmm. Because I can tell that you've done a lot of work with understanding the differentiating factors between Danielle D. Hughes and then Danny. Mm-hmm. How do you recommend somebody take those steps in understanding who they are first and then being able to successfully perform for others?
Gotcha. That's a good question. So when I got fired from my last job in news in 2016, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a news anchor since I was 16. So what do you do? What am I even good at? What do I like to do? So I made a list of 10 things that I would do for free if I never got paid for them. But I wouldn't need an alarm clock because my passion for them would wake me up every morning. So I made a list of 10 things. And then I said, I need to do things connected to this. And that is literally where it started for me.
Wow. So after you make that list, what's next? Mm-hmm.
So I think that you want to break it down. So my brain works in steps, right? Mm-hmm. So I have this list. So now I took it from just a random list of things I like to do, and then I put them in order of importance. Okay. When I do this, I feel this way. This makes me feel really good. When I do this, it doesn't make me feel that good, but I would still do it for free if I never got a paycheck for it. Yeah. So then I have this list in order of importance, and then I'm breaking them down. Okay, 5 things that I can do to make doing this every single day my reality. So who do I need to reach out to? Who do I need to become? What books do I need to read? Who do I need to be connected to? What resources do I need to make this happen?
And have you accomplished in this season the things that you envisioned 5 seasons ago?
Mm-hmm. So I make very, very intentional vision boards. Okay. And it happened when I graduated from college, and I ended up back home. I share this in my book, in my parents' home, in my bedroom with the little Bow Wow and the B2K posters. And I'm like, yeah, no, there's got to be more out of life. How am I still here? How did I end up back here? So boom, 2 of my friends came over and they're like, we're going to make vision boards. And I'm like, those don't work for me because I'm using someone else's vision. Typically when you do vision boards, you're cutting out of a magazine. This is not your vision. The exact car that you want, what are the odds that it's going to be in a magazine? The exact car. This ain't the interior that you want, the year that you want. How likely are you to find that in a magazine?
Not at all.
Right. So you got to be intentional. So I'm like, bet, I got to take this into my own hands. So I went to Google. Now, mind you, I did not have a license at this time. I didn't get a license until January of 2015. This is October 2014 we made these. I put the exact car that I wanted. I said that I wanted to make the Forbes list. I should have brought this. I think I showed this to you before. Yeah. I don't know. I put 2 Forbes covers. I said I wanted to travel to Paris, travel to Dubai. I said I wanted to be a news anchor. I said that I wanted to be a well-respected businesswoman. All of these things have come to pass.
Wow.
All of them. January 2015, I drove that same car off the lot that I put on my vision board October 2014.
You want to talk about the car?
Sure.
You got a Bentley, right?
I wish. It was a white Ford Focus. I wish.
That was the car?
That was the car.
Wow.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
That's deep.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
Talk to me. So you're a type of person, and we were talking about this earlier, that doesn't want the world, right? I actually Danny, do you want this empire or do you not? And you said, no, I don't. I'm cool. Yeah. Talk to me about that, because I think people have boxed you in. They see Forbes, they see all these different things. They expect for you to keep going and working and working and working and working, millions and millions and millions. But what does that look like for you? What do you really want?
So I prioritize rest. I prioritize family. So those are my two things. It's no one's responsibility to pour into me but me. So when I feel myself getting depleted, I can't be mad at you that I feel depleted. I am my own responsibility. So I always prioritize myself at all times. My greatest life work will be my family, the family that I raise, the family that I don't have yet. That's going to be my greatest life work. Yeah. People will remember the book. They're going to remember the scholarship. They may remember the Pose experience. They'll remember the work I've done with helping people create passive income and create money outside of their corporate salaries from a side hustle and helping them to become entrepreneurs. People will remember that. But my greatest life's work will be in my family. And that's what I want to focus on.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
It's that important to you.
It's very important.
Where did you learn that?
From my family. So my grandfather was a real estate investor back in the 50s. Now, mind you, a black man being a real estate investor in the 50s, huge. Unheard of. So I was kind of sharing this with you earlier. He had a taxi fleet. Mm-hmm. So imagine being in the third grade and getting picked up from school in taxis. I just want to put that out there. I used to be like, dang, can y'all come around the back? What? But hey, that was the family business. So my grandfather said he had a 7th grade education. He hailed from Moultrie, Georgia, and then came to Detroit, Michigan to work at a plant. Didn't work out for him.
Yeah.
So my mom graduated from Cass Technical High School. That's the school that Big Sean graduated from, just so people I can put that into perspective. It's a very well-known high school in Detroit. Mm-hmm. So my grandfather, when he was in his 40s...
So they came from two different, completely worlds.
Yep, for sure. When he was in his 40s, he took night classes at Cass Tech because he said he was going to be the last dumb Jackson. He said, I'm going to be the last Jackson that doesn't have any education. And that's my mom's maiden name.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so I learned that from him. When I was... maybe like the 5th grade. So I loved the bookstore. Loved the bookstore. My grandfather would take me to the bookstore. And this one time in particular, he was like, what do you want? I said, well, I really want like this entire shelf, but I know I can't get it. So I'll take 3 books. He said, you can get the shelf. Who told you couldn't have the entire shelf of books? I said, I don't know. I guess I've been conditioned to think when I go places with my parents, they're like, look, we going in this store, you can only get one. Don't touch anything. Don't ask me for anything. But he said, yeah, did I tell you that you couldn't get the entire shelf? So he goes and gets an employee and we took the entire shelf home.
The entire shelf?
The entire shelf. Yep. We had like 6 boxes of books that we took back to my grandma's house.
What did that do for you?
Woo! Number one, when I got older and we talked about this, he was like, I never wanted you to get into a relationship, date someone, and feel like you weren't worthy of the world because you can have whatever you ask for. So that was number 1. Number 2, it taught me like if I work hard enough, I can have whatever I want. Money was never an issue with my grandfather. As long as you worked hard, as long as you had a goal in mind, the world was yours as far as it related to him.
What would be your advice to somebody right now listening that is growing up in that household or has grown up in that household and is saying right now that, Danny, you've made money now, so you can think like this? How would you shift their perspective?
I was thinking like this when I didn't have any money. So when I decided that I wanted to change my life, I wanted to take baby steps because that's all I knew. You can't change your life overnight.
Yeah.
Small steps consistently. So when I was at Georgia State, I'm surrounded by all of these movers and shakers. And I'm like, you know what? I'm really tired of my own BS. I'm tired of playing with myself. Let me try to make a change in my life. So I started making my bed every day. Again, I've never had any structure. I've never done anything repetitively. I've never done anything every single day besides shower and brush my teeth. Like, that's it. Something that I've done every single day. I never sat down and decided what my day was going to look like. What are my top 3 goals of the day? What are the things that I want to get done? What do I want to accomplish out of this day? I never did that. I just winged it my entire life. Yeah. And it worked out to a certain point. So I said, I know I'm built for more. So how do I get to that point? So boom. So I started making my bed. And I'm like, okay, the consistency of that went into me writing in a planner every single day. So now I'm writing out my top 3 things that need to be done for the day. Boom. Okay. I'm getting those top 3 things done. Now I'm sprinkling a little bit else in there. After that, I'm like, what else can I do? That consistency bleeds into other areas of your life, literally. So take things slow. How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. So always keep that in mind. These people, you listen to these podcasts, you get on the internet, you see all these people thriving, and y'all, please don't believe everything you see on the internet. Please don't. So you see these people thriving and you're like, I'm so behind. How do I get there? Start in steps. And what does it look like for you? So boom, I started making my bed and then I built my consistency muscle. I'm extremely consistent now. Making my bed literally changed my life. It's not just the title of my book for no reason.
What do you need? You're a giver. You're a natural giver. You're somebody who is really invested in family and you take care of other people. You've built these businesses to serve other people. You started a scholarship to serve these students. You've done all of these things to serve people. Even your life goal is to being able to serve your family. But what do you need?
For someone to serve me.
What does that look like?
So I have an assistant, and technically that's her job title, to serve me, right? Sure. But it's more so like, how can I support you? What do you need? I need someone to do it without me asking. And I share this with my business partners a lot because they always say, what do you need? What do we need to do? What can we do? I'm looking for someone to look at me and say, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Is that from a personal standpoint or from a professional standpoint
personal
as well?
And professional.
Okay.
Yep. Personal and professional.
Okay.
I know that comes in time.
Yeah. But, I mean, everything comes in time.
Yeah.
When you think about this season that you're currently in, what does success out of this season look like?
Success out of this season.
Every off season, you're preparing for the championship in the current season. So you prepare for preseason, then you have your regular season, and then you have your playoffs.
Yep.
And then you get to the championship.
So preparing the harvest. That's what this off season looks like. So, the rain can't come until you've prepared the harvest.
Exactly.
So once the rain comes, if I haven't prepared anything, nothing grows, right? So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm planting seeds. I have huge financial goals that I would like to hit. I need to be out of debt because my financial goals are bigger than I am. So I'm planting seeds.
What are 3 seeds that you're planting?
Okay. Working on my relationship with Christ. Figuring out what that looks like being outside of the church. I grew up in church every single weekend, but I never really knew God. It's like I can quote scripture back and forth, but do I know God? Do I know how to call on him when I'm in a situation that's literally he's the only person that can get me out of this? No. So I'm learning that on my own. So I'm consistently building my faith muscle.
Okay.
2, my entire life I have been very passive. I'm a very go with the flow person. It's just like, it is what it is. Tell me what you want. In the last year, I have consistently worked on speaking up for myself and saying, this is what I want. I don't like this. I do like this. I want less of this. I want more of this. And sharing that with people. Advocating for myself in that way. And number 3, being more present with my family. So I traveled for about a week last week and I came back home and I had 3 different conversations with 2 friends and a family member, and they all said that I am just not present with them. So it is being more present with my family. My dad passed very, very quickly. Very quickly. My mom was introduced to some health challenges earlier this year. So if life has taught me anything, it's to be present with the ones you love. Because they love me for me. Not for what I can do for them. Not for how well I can perform. What gems I can drop on them. They love me for me. Whether I had $0 or whether I have $1 million.
What gift are you trying to unwrap for the world?
What gift am I trying to unwrap for the world? Kyle, that's a good question. I never thought about that. Let me see. I don't know. That's a good question.
We'll come back around.
Okay.
We'll come back
let's
around.
come back around to that one.
So when you think about everything that you've been through and everything that has really been able to shape you to become the person that you are today, what is one story or one experience that you can look back on and you're like, if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today?
Getting fired from that job in Augusta, Georgia.
Wow.
From that job as a news anchor. So I'm sure we're all familiar with Jovita Moore. I'm like, Jovita? WSB TV? Atlanta? Okay. So she's like one of the lead anchors at WSB TV in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I'm like, bet I'm on track to be the next Jovita. I'm going to be the next Barbara Walters.
Okay.
So that derailing my plan, I write this in my book too, always trust the reroute. It may not look like what you set out for it to be, but trust that you are always at the right place at the right time. Always. Even when you feel like you are not. You are always exactly where you need to be. So getting fired from that job, because I would have been in news, very unfulfilled, because I was unfulfilled. But I just figured this is the only thing I've known since I was 16. It's the only thing I feel like I'm good at. So I'll do that. So being fired from that job, because I had to literally figure out who I was, what I like to do, what I was passionate about. And I went and ran with it.
What does fulfillment look like for you?
Fulfillment. Ooh. Seeing other people thrive as a result of being connected to me.
What does love look like?
Love looks like solitude.
What does joy look like?
Joy looks like... this is a good question. Joy looks like family.
And what does your vision look like?
Ooh, my vision is crystal clear.
Explain it for us.
Okay, so I have 5-month goals. I have yearly goals, like where I want to be in a year, where I want to be in 5 months, where I want to be in a year, where I want to be in 5 years, where I want to be in 10 years. So back to being intentional, I write those out like to the T. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to be financially. This is where I want to be in relationships. This is where I want to be with my family, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I say when I say I have a crystal clear vision, a very intentional vision for the next up to 10 years.
What would be your number if somebody was to invest in you right now? If God was to say, here's a check, you write that number on that check. What would be the number to shut it all down?
Whew. Have to be like 10 million.
Really?
It would have to be 10 million.
Why 10 million?
I could live very comfortably with $10 million.
What's the number that you have on your 10-year paper? Is it 10 million?
I believe it's 10 million. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked that question, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday as well. Met with someone, and they pretty much broke down a game plan on how you retire, right? So they were like, all of your annual expenses, let's say your annual expenses are $60,000, and you divide that number by 0.04, which is 4%, and that's the number that you would need liquid or in assets to be able to retire. But we took it a step further, and then you multiply that number of assets by 5 to 10, right? Because now for 5 to 10 generations, if you make that number now, you've just secured your family for the next 5 to 10 generations. If you could leave one message with the world, if you had 60 seconds to share anything with the world and everyone in the world was going to hear it, what would you say?
Consistency breeds consistency. Stay consistent in one thing and keep it small. If you are looking to figure out what your purpose is, what you're good at, what your genius level talent is, because I feel like everyone has genius level talent. Start small and become consistent with one thing. That consistency is going to breed consistency in other areas of your life, and you will figure it out.
Who do you wish you would have become sooner?
I wish I would have become more empathetic a lot sooner. My dad's death made me very empathetic.
Wow.
Very, very empathetic. I'm sensitive. So I'm sensitive to what people are experiencing and what they're going through. But empathy is a lot different from being sensitive.
Why is empathy important?
Whew.
Or define it for us as well.
Okay, so how I see empathy is literally... Kyle, this is good. Oh my gosh. How do I define empathy? Okay, so this is how I view it. Literally putting myself in someone else's shoes. As much as in the past I would say, I'm so non-judgmental, this is a no judgment zone, I was judging you.
Yeah.
I'm being very judgy. So being through something as traumatic as that, your life can change in any moment. Literally in any moment. So being more empathetic to what someone else is going through. I used to be very quick to say, well, why don't you understand this? Like, I understand it. Why don't you understand it? Like, What's the issue? I don't understand. You never know what life circumstances that people are dealing with that prohibits them from learning, from thriving, from growing, from feeling safe, from all of these different factors. And I really found this when I had employees. And I'm like, I don't get it. Where's the disconnect? What's going on? So empathy plays a huge role in my business model. A huge role.
Where do you balance empathy and becoming a crutch and not allowing excuses? So let me preface it. So it's okay to empathize and put put yourself in other people's shoes and understand that their experiences continue to shape their reality. But there's a certain line that if you're not accomplishing a sense of excellence, your experiences, especially in business or even personally, shouldn't interfere with the boundaries or the policies and procedures that I expect as an individual, whether I'm your boss or not. So talk to me about that balance of empathy while still requiring excellence from individuals.
And that is where those boundaries come in. So I'll take my employees, for example. So I always share with them, as much as I love y'all, y'all love me, we're not friends. Maybe we can be friends down the line, but we're not friends while we are working together. That's it. We're not friends. I'm here to challenge you. I'm here to push you. I'm here to push you to your next level. You're here to challenge me. You're here to push me. I don't know everything. We're a team. I never say I have anyone works for me. We are a team. I have team members because we all make up the collective. So I think having those strong boundaries, there are just things that I don't do. I don't follow my employees, or my team members, on social media.
Wow.
My page is open, so if they follow me, it's like nothing I can really do about that. We don't engage in. We do like a monthly session. We'll get together, not monthly, quarterly, and we'll just sit down one-on-one. Tell me what's going on. What do you want to share? And that's our time together where I can really see what's going on. What's affecting you from being your best at work? Let's sit down and talk about it. What's
affecting you from being your best in life?
Okay, so I have horrible time management skills. Terrible. It's really a problem because I can be dressed and ready to go. I'm still going to show up 10 minutes late. I'm still going to be 15 minutes late. So I'm working on that.
Why?
That's going to prohibit me from getting to my next level.
Why are you still late?
I don't like waiting. I hate waiting. So in my head, if I show up on time, in the event that you don't show up on time, I don't want to wait on you.
What really does that tell you about yourself?
That I need to work on my patience.
So is it time management or patience?
It's probably patience. Thank you for unpacking that for me.
Intentionality is important for you. So what are you intentionally doing to work on your patience?
I have not been intentionally working on it.
Okay. Circling back around because I didn't forget. What gift are you unwrapping for the world?
Working on myself. So working on myself from the inside out. That way I'm able to be my best self and make my biggest and best contributions to the world.
As you look at Danny, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, what does she look like? What is she doing?
40 years from now, I will be retired for sure. Hopefully I'll be retired in 10 years. I'll be retired. I always said I wanted to have 4 kids, but I don't know how that's going to work out. So we'll see what happens. Prayerfully, I'll have grandchildren. Prayerfully, I'll be coaching them and mentoring them. And even if they don't want that, hopefully I'll just be supporting their dreams and their endeavors. Whatever you need, I can give you some seed money. I can support you in whatever way that looks like at that time. Just enjoying my life, doing things that make me happy that are not attached to a dollar amount. Waking up and like planning a bed of roses, if that's what I want to do. And I don't have to be on anyone's schedule and I don't have to be anywhere. I love being an entrepreneur because of the freedom that it's provided me.
What does freedom mean to you? I just want
freedom to the next level by the time I'm 70.
What does freedom mean? Define that.
So freedom for me, I put a lot on this because I'm a Sagittarius, and every Sagittarius I've ever met is just like very free. Anyone I've ever met, especially as it relates to dating, who has tried to box me in or be too close or want to be up under me all the time, or you got to do this, we have to go here. It's never worked. Wow. I've always ran to the left. They tell we're going to the right, I'm going to the left.
Are you in a relationship now?
I am not.
So technically all of it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's not just that. Technically.
All of it didn't work.
We're being honest.
Yes, all of it didn't work. Yes, absolutely.
I do believe that all work works, though. What is one thing that you've learned from a failed relationship that taught you more about yourself?
Communication. Communication. I've been taught to, if you have an issue with somebody, you can ghost them. You don't have to. You don't have to talk about it. Whatever. And also that love is not, you're not supposed to argue in relationships. I grew up seeing that. I grew up seeing that with my mom, my biological dad. My mom married my stepdad, who was the greatest man on earth. But with my biological parents, my mom and my dad, I saw a lot of that. Love was arguments, and love was belittling the person you love. that was love. And you argue and you get mad and you leave the house and you don't come back for 2 weeks. And that was conflict resolution in my house.
It's powerful what you just did, right? Because I asked you, how do you define love? And you gave a completely different answer. Mm-hmm. But you grew up with this example of love. Mm-hmm. So through your transformation, you've re-identified and reimagined and recreated what love looks like right now in your life. Mm-hmm. When you think about somebody listening right now, they're struggling with loving themselves. Mm-hmm. What would you tell that person? What are some steps that you would give that person to begin better loving themselves?
Okay, so being in therapy for the 6 months last year really opened my eyes to how much I wasn't taking care of myself and how I am not valuable to anyone unless I'm taking care of myself. Again, like I said, it's no one's responsibility to pour into me. That is my responsibility. That's Danielle's responsibility. I can't rely on you. I can't rely on anyone else to pour into me. That is my responsibility. If you do, great. But if you don't, if I've never poured into myself and then you just stop all of a sudden, I'm going to lose it. Because I wasn't pouring into myself, right? So I have a self-care day every day. Not every day. Sometimes every day. Every first of the month, my birthday is December 1st. So every first of the month, I take time for me. I love Krispy Kreme. I take myself to Krispy Kreme. I go to the bookstore. I get a massage. I go to the spa. I'll buy myself roses. We don't live too far from the Detroit River, so I'll go to the Detroit River and just sit and journal and think and take the time for myself. That is what self-love and self-care looks like for me.
One thing that I really want to thank you for, and this has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you. You came with that heat? Nah,
definitely. Is your authenticity, but also your ability to be really reflective, and that you don't live based upon the scars that you've experienced in your life. Mm-hmm. And I do believe and I feel that your father would be proud.
Thank you.
If he was sitting right here with us, mm-hmm. what would you say to him?
Thank you. He changed my life. I say that all the time. Anyone who will listen long enough for me to share this, he changed my life. He told me how a man is supposed to lead his family, how he is to protect, to provide. He taught me communication. He taught me accountability. He taught me so many things that are just intangible that my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids are going to benefit from just from him.
Where can we find you online?
So you can find me on Instagram at Danielle D. Hughes, on Facebook at Danielle D. Hughes. You can find my business pages at The Pose Experience, www.theposeexperience.com, and www.eliteGlobalVending.com.
You are amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
So are you.
Thank you. Anybody listening right now, use this story, use this podcast, use these messages to redesign and reimagine your life. It starts with faith. It starts with really being able to take those small baby steps, being committed to a vision that you see, not somebody else's vision, but a vision that you see, but also being able to show gratitude and appreciation for the people, the mentors, the giants that paved the way for you. We're here with Danielle D. Hughes, or Dan.
Gotta say the D.
Around the Way podcast, and we'll see you guys next episode.